Once again, I have been blocked from Antonio Fletcher's channel. And while this doesn't really come as too much of a surprise, it does make me pretty unhappy. Because, Antonio Fletcher is honestly probably my favorite Christian on YouTube to actually watch at this point. It also makes me think a little bit. It makes me question why it is specifically that I have been blocked. And the only possible reason that I can imagine is because I pretty frequently comment on Antonio's videos. I like to come into the Hangouts and stuff, and I'm generally pretty critical of him. It's something that I enjoy to do. He puts out a video talking about whatever he wants to talk about, and if I disagree with it, I feel totally cool with using my free speech to offer up a critique on why I think that he is wrong. Now, I don't really imagine that Antonio would necessarily be that bothered by this. I mean, it seems to me like he is a pretty big advocate for free speech. In the past, he has made videos criticizing the hypocrisy of safe spaces, and on a pretty, regular basis, he comments on how he thinks that we need to get rid of all this PC censorship and crap. You should be able to say stuff without hurting people's feelings. But it seems to me like if you hurt Antonio's feelings or you say something that he doesn't necessarily agree with, he has no problem himself with censoring you. He has said it in his comments. He has absolutely no problem with censoring people. Now, why is this? And I think it has to do with a little word that I hear a lot whenever I, look through the fundies channels, which I do pretty frequently. I enjoy listening to the fundamentalist Christian channels more than anything else. Well, sorry, more than any other Christian denomination, at least. Because, in my opinion, a literal interpretation of the Bible is the most, respect worthy view of the Bible you can have. If you start chopping it up into pieces and telling me that, this is just a metaphor and this is just poetry, then you really start to lose me personally. If God didn't really make the earth, then why listen to any of this hooey anyway? That's kind of besides the point. You see, I'm noticing this big trend in the fundy community that they like to claim persecution. And persecution is really the word that I want to focus on here in this particular video. It's this concept that Christianity at large is basically, under attack. It's constantly trying to be, snuffed out and, quieted and stuff. And I gotta wonder if that's really the case. Now, you see, recently on YouTube, atheists like myself have taken a pretty big hit with ad revenue. Apparently, if you put the word atheist in a video now, people don't want to fund it. They don't want to have their ads on it. They basically don't want to pay people who are, considering themselves atheists. Now, that is real persecution. That right there is somebody trying to make it harder for us to get our message out there. Like literally trying to put roadblocks in our way. Now, whenever you're here on YouTube and you're in the Great Debate community and you hear all of these Christians going on about persecution, 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 what do we have? We don't have anything like that. I mean, yeah, sure. Maybe you have a few trolls here and there that are going to snipe your hangouts, but just look at Steve McRae, everyone's favorite agnostic. That dude gets his hangouts sniped all the time. It's not just you. Trolls don't just attack Christians. But hey, it's not just the trolls that are getting called out on this whole persecution nonsense. In fact, most often it's people like me who just come into Hangouts and just make videos. And all that we're doing is criticizing, All that we're doing is trying to have a talk. a talk, man. And that's what these people are going crazy over. That's what these people are calling persecutions. That's what is apparently some kind of awful, terrible attack. Now, let's just put it in perspective, If I were to say sit down and talk to my brother hypothetically over football or something, then I could sit there and I could criticize the Green Bay Packers all day. And he won't really be happy about it, but he's not going to freak out and act like I'm some kind of crazy bigot that hates him. He'll be happy to sit down and talk through the finer points of football. Now, you try and do that here in the great debate community, and most of these people are going to be happy to talk with you to a point, but like once it's evident that you're not just magically going to come to agree with them, and that you have some serious issues, or let's just say that you're a little bit aggressive in the way that you talk, then oh man, you're a bigot. You're some kind of Christian hating terrible person. It's persecution, man. It's persecution. Forget the fact that in the Bible, whenever the Christians were quote unquote persecuted, they were hung up on frickin' stakes, man. They were crucified. They were fed to the lions and killed. I mean, they were forcefully quieted. That seems to me like persecution. Now, am I trying to forcefully quiet anyone? No. I'm just trying to have a conversation, and because that conversation happens to disagree with Christianity, then all of these, I don't like to use the word, but basically snowflakes who cannot take the criticism. Oh man, they run off to their corners and they cry, oh my god, I'm so persecuted. It's ridiculous, man. It is ridiculous, and I can only assume that that's what's happened with Antonio here, that he doesn't like my criticism or anyone else's criticism, so despite his own words against censorship, against, censoring people's languages because, it hurts their feelings, he's going to do the same. It's just sad, man. I mean, if you want to put your stuff out on the internet for everyone to see, then you need to accept the fact that some people are not going to agree with it. And some people are going to criticize it. And if you can't handle that, if any of you fundamentalist Christians cannot handle that, then you got to get out of the kitchen, so to speak, just get out of the debate. Because, we all want to talk, we all want to discuss, and if you don't want to do that, then really we do not need you here.